Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh, Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, the people it reaches, the impact it's having. And I get messages on a weekly basis saying, I was really looking for something. I was looking for messages and I found your podcast and I found it at the perfect time. I love when the universe does that. I feel like people are guided to it when they need it. And I feel so very, very blessed with that. I started this as a passion project quite a few years ago. I was just talking to Stacey. This episode is going to be 274. It's crazy, and it's our way of giving back. Globalists in the top 2% could definitely get advertisers on if we wanted to, but I want to keep it sacred. We always talk about what we do. It's never a hard sell. It's always just when it makes sense. And I'm sure a lot of time we forget when we should be talking about it, but it's all good. And so, just start by saying thank you. If this is your first episode, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. Thank you for your support. I'm sending so much love and light out to right now. Everybody's going through so much. There's such a shift. There's such an amazing but crazy, intense time to be on the planet. So sending you the biggest hug and so much love and light. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, and a spiritual coach and mentor. And I love what I get to do in whatever form. I get to guide people. I get to hold people's space while they're going through a shift. I get to guide people to truly understand why they're here on the planet. So if you're going through something and you feel like I or we can support, please reach out. I have a beautiful mentorship program with Stacey, who's a co-host on today's program. Reach out to us. Maybe we can guide you. Maybe we can hold your space. If it resonates at a heart level or a soul level, reach out. This podcast won't be where it is today without my beautiful co-host, introducing the amazing, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire and published author, Stacey Brown. Stacey, won't be the same without introducing you that way. I'd love for you to introduce yourself in your own beautiful words.
It's so good to be here. It's hard to believe that we are at episode 274. My mind is blown, and the power of this podcast and who it's reaching has really been a beautiful experience. So thank you so much to our listeners. We wouldn't be here without you. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from all around the world. I am also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. And my book, Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender, is available on Amazon and Audible. Check it out. It's a powerful read and a beautiful story of my journey of healing. Really looking forward to this episode today, Nims.
Yes, so am I. And it's really interesting. Before we started recording, I was just having a quick catch up with Stacey and just saying how today I really don't feel in my body. There's just energetically, it feels like there's a lot happening on the planet. And I started this podcast and somehow it energizes me. So I feel, thank you. Everyone's listening. I guess in some way you've energized me. So what are we going to be talking about today? It's just a lot. This topic has been coming up a lot in conversation we've been having recently, certainly for me, and that's holding space without fixing. I feel like a lot of people are being activated, being triggered, whatever you want to call it. And, we kind of get used to being activated as healers. And, certainly with there's two phases to our program. The second phase is about guiding people to become a spiritual mentor. And, I know I've had a lot of conversations with anyone that's doing that program about holding space without fixing. And the sacred role it plays in the role of a spiritual mentor, it's harder than you think. And I know for a lot of people, transition and the conversation we've been having, what is holding space without fixing? For me, the definition of that is when somebody's going through something, it's human nature to want to go in there and fix. That's kind of what we do, right? That's what we're programmed to do. Is put everybody else first and, go in when somebody's struggling, go in and fix. But it's like sometimes our role isn't to fix. Sometimes we grow so much more when we understand, because sometimes as a mentor, who am I to tell people what to do, right? I can intuitively read someone's energy and kind of guide them. But it's like we're a soul having a human experience. So for me, holding space is allowing somebody to process something without influencing too much. You can ask open questions, closed questions when it makes sense. I like to ask a lot of open questions to help someone understand what they're going through. But it's like, it's not as natural as it seems, because the inner rescuer in us, the one that wants to fix things, the one that's uncomfortable feeling somebody's pain. And it is a difference when you're mentoring somebody and when it's a friend, but it's still just as difficult. In some ways, doing it for a friend is harder because you don't want your friend to feel pain. But at the same time, if somebody's picked you as a mentor, you don't want them to feel pain either, right? You're very conscious about doing a job. So it's just an interesting, the difference between helping and saving. And I've just seen it in so many people that the growth you get when you don't jump into fix is exponential. It's a different level because it's a journey to understand why your soul picked what it did, and the programming, and really kind of releasing the layers to truly become your core. You only do that when you go through a journey of discovery, of really asking those questions, understanding what's happening on the inside, and realizing you don't need to be fixed. And when you do, I just talked about how empowering it is, but when you jump in to fix, you actually disempower. And whether that's the role of mentor, mentee, or for a friend, because also what you're doing is you're saying to the person, they don't have the strength to work it out. But that doesn't mean you don't hold space. That doesn't mean you don't create a safe space for whoever's with you to process what they're going through. Asking them open questions, letting them know that you're there to support them, but without jumping in. That's what holding space without fixing means to me. Stacey, what does it mean to you?
You know, I agree with you so much that when we're on a healing journey, there is this desire to fix what we feel is broken, right? There's this desire, this goal to find a way to navigate through it and to find somebody to solve it for us. And I think oftentimes people come to us wanting us to solve whatever they're facing, and they're looking for a quick fix. And I believe that there is no quick fix. Okay, that's the first thing. And that it really does take time and effort and awareness to understand what you're going through and to navigate through it. And one of the beautiful things about mentorship is that we guide you to your answers. Okay. We don't try to find the answers for you. We don't try to solve it for you. We try to bring you into a space of reflection and awareness and introspection where you awaken to understanding what is right for you. Because at the end of the day, what might be right for me or for Nimesh or for someone else might be totally different than what's right for you. And only you know that. Only you can know that by dialing in and using your own intuition and checking in with yourself and seeing where you are. That connection and that feeling of alignment is yours and yours alone. And only you know when you feel that connection. People can help you get there. That's the beautiful thing about mentorship is we'll help you get there. We'll help you on the journey. We'll ask the right open-ended questions. We'll get you really thinking about your journey and what you need to do. But ultimately, the answers lie within you. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss, or maybe they don't quite understand, that those answers lie within you And a lot of times you don't even realize they're there. And so our responsibility is to work to pull those answers out of you, to bring you to a space of understanding yourself better, and to be able to then make decisions based off of that energy and how you feel about where you are in your life. And this is a very independent decision. This is a very private process to go through. And it's one that you don't have to do alone. Okay. You 100% don't have to go through this process alone, but it's something that you need to understand. The answers are within you. And I think that's something that people miss a lot.
I couldn't agree more. It's the same. It's just, I'm sure if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you've heard me say everything you need is inside you. And what does that really mean? It's like Stacey was saying, everything, you're a soul that has contracted a certain experience in this lifetime. And whatever that is inside you. Your soul knows what karma you're here to release, what your soul needs to expand, kind of what your destiny is. The human, as you do your work, the veil of amnesia gets thinner. You start to understanding. So this is, in a nutshell, that's for me what we do is we guide you to something your soul already knows, and we guide you to allow the veil of amnesia to become thinner and thinner, so you start to get more awareness as to what you're going through. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm not really a spiritual mentor, and maybe I don't have any plans to do it, how would I put it in the right sort of way? I would say, ask yourself, if you're talking to a friend or anybody that is going through something, what's your natural tendency? How much do you speak and how much do you listen? I always tell people, you got 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in that proportion. And that's, allowing, it's really hard sometimes to not jump in, right? It's like when somebody's talking, how present are you with what that person's saying? Or are you so focused on how you're going to respond? Or are you focused on what you're going to have for dinner in the evening, whatever, right? But the more present you are and allowing that person to process, the more you're holding space. Because maybe the human doesn't always know how much you're present, but the heart and soul definitely feels how much you're present. So if there's times when people are really open with you and kind of tell you the life story and you wonder, well, why did they do that? It's because you're being present with them. If there's other times, you really want to kind of you feel like somebody's going through something they want to share, and then they don't end up sharing, then again, check in with yourself. And it's a good question to ask is, when somebody's sharing and having a deep conversation, can you be quiet and just listen without jumping in? And then when you do jump in, do you give your opinion, or do you ask more open questions to allow people to understand? Because it's like, your opinion is going to be based on your experience, your programming, and that includes religious, societal. And again, you're giving your opinion, but even when you give your opinion, how you give it makes a difference. So if you give it as factual, then are you really helping the person? Because if somebody asks my opinion, I'll give them my opinion, but I'll always counter it. Well, look, what's your experience? What are you? I'll use it to push somebody to really look inside themselves, because my truth isn't your truth, and this is a muscle, right? It's hard. It's harder than it sounds, and it is different for kind of holding space for friends compared to clients. So if this is something you plan to expand and do, then it is different. Because also you feel more responsible in a different sort of way with a friend or a client. It just depends how you build. But if somebody's paying you to guide them, that applies a different pressure. So the reason we're picking this topic today is really interesting. It's really interesting for you to listen to what we do, for sure, but also sit with yourself and ask those questions. How do I handle certain situations? because we're here to kind of increase your awareness. And by the way, as Stacey was talking about, the program that we do is beautiful. It's that, phase one guides you to truly understand you, going deeper, removing the layers, and truly understanding who you are. And I get it when I have some discovery calls and people are talking. It's like it should come with a health one. Let me put it that way. It is. We do go deep on who you are, but at the same time, we're still trying to figure it ourselves, right? So what you'll get is two people, and two people that have been through a lot, but also very intuitive. So we can hold your space. And the way it works, and I'll give you a quick synopsis. I wasn't planning to, but it's basically a 12-week program. First call of every month. The first, fifth, and ninth call are 90 minutes. Everyone is 60. The calls are important, but the time in between, you have access to us via WhatsApp. That's just as important, because whatever we talk about during the week, and then we'll give you some what I love to call home play rather than homework, because homework has like a negative. Home play, when you're going deep on your own journey, what if it's more playful rather than work? So, but that's normally going deep on your journey, journaling, and and the deeper you go, the more you get out of it. And again, it's just the best thing in the world. I love doing it. I just love people starting to get a really deep understanding of who they are and what their light's like, and it's just connecting with the guides. It's just beautiful. I love doing it. It's one of my favorite things to do. Phase 2 we introduced this year, and we could have quite easily taken our program, put it in a box, but phase 2 is more about guiding you to become the mentor, creating a program for you. And it is deeper healing, because things like, if you're going to hold people's space as a mentor, then that's a skill. That's something you need to practice. Yes, there's a lot of intuition to it, but so phase 2 does go deeper on you and how you're showing up as healer, mentor, and we guide you to create a program that's right for you. We have no issue using elements of what we do, but we want you to do what's right for you. So again, if it's something that appeals to you, reach out. It's such an interesting journey right now. It's just the curiosity in me as to what's coming next and what people are going through. I just love it right now. But like I said, before I started recording, I was feeling drained, and I still am a little bit, to be fair. We're all going through something. And the thing that I'm sure Stacey will confirm is that as healers, as mentors, one, we have to experience things at a deeper level for whatever reason. And two, any client we work with is a soul contract. And it's a co-creation. We learn while we're guiding too. It's just it's just an interesting journey. So, but it is interesting, right? And this is why I asked about the power of silence, the power of pure presence. Try it. Be present when you're talking to somebody. Don't focus on how you're going to respond. Be present and truly listen. And just see the impact it has on others. And the power of silence. I mean, Stacey laughs sometimes in some of our joint sessions, because sometimes I'll just make a statement. It's not even mine. I don't know where it comes from. And it's just like a one-liner, and I'll just be quiet. And I can feel Stacey go on mute and start giggling a little bit, because it's like that. But there's so much power in just asking an open question and being quiet. People get uncomfortable in silence. But actually, in that silence, they start to go deeper. And it's not even... Sometimes it's not like they have an intention of not sharing. But your role is, as you're holding space, is allowing them to know that it's safe to go deeper. And trusting that discomfort. If somebody's being emotional, crying, let them cry. It's so healing. If somebody's thinking, being quiet, let them be quiet for a while. Let them process. And yes, it is uncomfortable. I get it. Ultimately, we've got to be with the person, be with them, rather than doing it for them. There's an analogy, teach someone to cook so they can actually fend for themselves, right? Rather than bringing them food. Teach someone to garden, to sow, to actually create their own vegetables rather than bring it for them. It's that same analogy. So, Stacey, what's your experience been like in terms of for holding space, allowing people to process, in the uncomfortable feeling of silence? And also when I drop those bombshells, anything that comes to you in terms of your experience with this topic?
I've had to really adjust the way that I do things because as a hairdresser behind the chair, people were constantly asking for my advice. It was like, we want to know what you think. We want to know what your opinion is, whether it was about their hair, about a family situation, what they're going through. They want somebody to listen to them. But then I also found a lot of times they wanted advice or personal experience. And as a mentor, I have had to adjust a lot, not to the amount of listening, because I've absolutely always been a listener and absorbed what my clients, needs were and what they were conveying to me. But I've had to come to a place of being less reactive and more active listening and really allowing our clients to process what they need to in order to come to their answers. And so that was a big adjustment for me because I had to learn to practice that pause where I normally would want to interject and say, "Hey, well, why don't you try this?" Right? And like give this sound advice. This has been very different. I have found myself initially just holding back as much as I could to allow our clients that time. And now I've gotten used to it. I've gotten used to holding that quiet space and allowing our clients those aha moments that they need because I realize how powerful they are. I had a client reach out to me this morning and she's dealing with some frustration with work. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I know I need to get it out, but I'm not sure how. And my initial thought was to try to solve it for her, right? To give her different options of how to vent it out. But instead, I just kind of bantered back and forth with her a little bit until she came to the conclusion that the perfect response for her was to go downstairs and punch the punching bag a few times. And she came to that conclusion based off of a conversation with me, but it wasn't me telling her, go do this, right? It was kind of her coming to that space of finding that answer and saying, well, wait, I do have a punching bag. Like I kind of made a joke, about like a punching bag. And she was like, wait a second, I have one. Aha, ding, ding. And she's like, I'm going to go use the punching bag. So I really believe that by allowing people the space to process, they come up with answers that are more aligned with what they need. Because if you think about it, only we really know what we need, right? When we're hungry, when we're thirsty, when we're tired, when we need rest, when we need interaction, when we need exercise, like we instinctively know what we need. And so why wouldn't it be like that with all aspects of ourselves? Sometimes we get a little lost or a little confused, but I believe that with the right guidance, we can get back on track and find our own answers in that process. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. I really have seen some massive growth in clients when they have to take the time and figure out what is going to work for them. And they tend to have more long-lasting results because they've taken the time to find their own answers. So I love the process of mentorship. I am tempted sometimes to give advice, right? Like just the hairdresser in me is tempted to do that. But the mentor in me knows that my clients will benefit more from finding their own answers than they will from me telling them what I think or what I feel. And so I've gotten into this habit of just making sure that I'm listening way more than I'm talking during sessions and allowing clients that space to talk it out and come to those answers. And sometimes it takes some time, right? Sometimes it takes talking it out with somebody. Sometimes it takes writing. Sometimes it takes reflection. The answers don't always come to us right away, my friends. And so if you're struggling with finding an answer right now, be patient with yourself. Okay. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you is be patient with yourself and then find somebody that you can process these things with, no matter how uncomfortable it is. It's going to help you to talk it out and to get to a space of better understanding yourself.
It's so true. And the other thing to bear in mind is when you're silent and allowing somebody to process, when you're asking open questions rather than jumping in, when you're jumping in, you're jumping in as a human. When you're holding space and when you're asking open questions, to me, it feels like you're more like you're channeling. I like I said earlier, I mean, I get things to say that I don't even know where they come from. And it's just being in that space of being in that, when you're listening more than you're talking, in many ways, you're actually listening to your guides and the sessions become much more intuitive. And by the way, this is, like I said, this doesn't apply to just if you're a mentor or you want to do this in the future. You talk to your friends, you're a healer, right? If you listen to this, there is something inside you and it allows you to listen so much more, listen to your guides because you're silent. Whereas if you're just always trying to fix, then what you're doing is you're going in from your ego. And that's very human. So basically you land back in your human. But if you really want to build a strong connection in your channel, that's where the being silent allows you to listen so much more and then share. And sure, so I mean, Stacey was talking about giving advice. Yeah, sometimes intuitively you can guide people with your own story. And there's a difference, right? I really don't like telling anyone what to do. But I might say, you know what I do in this situation is this, and this is where it's coming from. But then I'll ask them an open question. Well, hold on. What could you learn from this situation? And sometimes punching a punch bag is the right thing to do. It's not always about speaking your truth to the other person. And sometimes it's speaking your truth to your higher self. Sometimes it is speaking your truth. Sometimes it's doing nothing. It's just really interesting when you start to become a student. So my advice to you as listeners is just be aware on the conversations you have over the coming days. Consider how present are you? How much are you really listening? Well, I mean, maybe don't do it during the conversation. I'd rather you be present. But afterwards, check in with yourself. How much was I actually listening there? What was my need like to fix? Was I really holding space? Because it's interesting when somebody's quiet. If you have let's say you want to talk to a friend, or you're mentoring somebody, you're guiding them, and it doesn't go your way. When somebody shuts down or resists, what gets triggered in you? Ask, really sit with it. And it's really interesting when you're working with somebody, and like I said, it doesn't have to be a mentor-mentee. It could be a friend that you're having a conversation. The universe is really smart and clever in giving you a mirror. Everything's always a co-creation. So really watch for your spiritual ego. If you're sitting there thinking, that you're better than the other person, or that you already know the answer, or you've already been through what they're going through and you've already fixed everything. The universe is a great leveler, right? So be present, be humble, and just have the intention of holding space. It's so powerful. It's really about guiding somebody to stop trying to fix everything. And even in yourself, shifting from how do I fix this to what is this moment asking from me? What's my lesson in this? It's really interesting. And, just, I guess if you know you're going to have a difficult conversation, or if you're in this space of healing and doing the pre-work, grounding before and after a session, whatever that looks like for you. It could be sage, it could be walking barefoot on grass, it could be meditating for a few minutes, whatever your way of grounding before and after a session. If I'm back to back, sometimes I'll just close my eyes and I'll just ask my guys to cleanse my energy. And I always ask my guys to put a bubble around me, only loving and supporting vibration. I'll always call them in. Even before we record this podcast, we always do a grounding. We always call in our guides. It doesn't take long, a couple of minutes. You can also, visualize energy cords, visualize light coming up from above and below, and just have it totally cleanse you. Whatever works. I mean, me and Stacey, with the work that we do, we always ask people to check in with their four bodies: physical, emotional, and spiritual. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Yeah, check in with your four bodies. And it's not about always being high. It's about checking in, rating them 1 to 10. It gives you insight. But cleansing your energy when you're working with somebody, and especially if you've gone through a conversation with a friend and it has been quite long, and you've really been holding space and you've been channeling, and you don't want to carry on there. You don't want to carry their energy. So doing the right things and actually doing a grounding beforehand or doing meditation beforehand allows you to be more present. If you're in a work meeting, whatever, it's like, we're always gonna recommend doing some sort of grounding before any intense event or anything. Even if you're just going outside, it helps so much. So, Stacey, what would your advice be to people? If they are mentors, or or even if they're just having an intense conversation, what would your advice be in terms of staying present, preparing before and after, cleansing their energy, etc.? Anything you want to add?
Well, I think that the practice of grounding is so important, and it's something that we do before we start recording a podcast. It's something we do before we start every client session. And it's just a way of setting the intention and kind of declaring the space and saying, this is what we want from this space. Please protect it, right? Please protect the space with a bubble of white light, allowing in only what is for our highest good. We talk about some of those things that bring us into a space of stillness and reflection. And I really believe that the process of grounding is something that people can do anytime to reset your energy. Okay. So you're having a frantic day today, maybe. Maybe the kids are chaotic or work is busy and stressful. You can take a moment in your car or in the bathroom, for heaven's sake, and just allow yourself that space to ground and reset your energy. It's very intentional. It's very specific. Okay. I think the other thing that's really important to do is to remember to listen more than to speak, right? Whatever the situation is, whether you're having a heated discussion with somebody, whether you are mentoring someone, whether someone's come to you for advice, I always feel that it's better to do more listening than speaking, and really consciously do that. Active listening, where you're engaging and asking questions, open-ended questions to get the other person to really think about what they're talking to you about, right? And when you ask those open-ended questions, you're giving them an opportunity to reframe what's happening and potentially have an aha moment. So I think all of these things are really important on this journey as we work on our communication and how we handle things, whether it's a client or a friend or a family member. I think the key is really allowing yourself the space to listen And I also think the other thing that's really powerful is mirroring back what you've heard. So when someone says something to you, you then can reframe it in different wording and spit it back to them and make sure that you're hearing them accurately. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes what we hear is different than what the person intended. So clarifying and making sure that the communication is solid is so important.
I love all of that, and it just the mirroring part, and just it's a beautiful way of allowing the other person to reflect. The other thing is open and closed questions. Stace mentioned it too. So I'm curious, if you sit with yourself and ask that question when you're talking to somebody, how often do you feel you ask open questions compared to closed questions? And it's open. An example of open question could be, how is that serving you? If you're facing some resistance, what's underneath this resistance? When was the first time you experienced it? Because when you kind of give a closed, what are you, kind of a closed question, like a yes and no answer, etc. You're almost not allowing for expansion. But it's like when you start to ask open questions, you're guiding someone to go deeper inside them. And that's really the power of guiding, what feels unsafe about moving forward. And Stacey talked about punchback, give an example of what she does, by the way. That might trigger something in them too, but allow the channeled message to come through too, right? If you had no right way, what would you do? What would you choose? I mean, I do always love to ask the question, how is it serving you? How are you expanding whatever you're going through? Because I really believe that whatever we're going through is teaching us something. And, if you're listening, I say this all the time, if you're listening to this episode, you're listening to it for a reason. If you're listening, they're saying, well, they're not really talking about me because, I'm not a mentor. You're a friend. You have conversations with others. I'm sure the healer in you is being activated. There's something different. There's something shifting. People are feeling your energy different. And if they're not yet, they will. But really sitting with yourself and asking how much open and closed questions, being even aware of it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of having a lot of open questions ready with you, but if that's what you feel that you need, if you're going to have a conversation, then sure, just maybe prepare some open questions that you can refer to. Because it is a muscle, right? Active listening, not jumping in, asking open questions. It does require practice. It's a muscle, right? It's something that, we'll always recommend doing something for 21 days. So try it, even for one day. When you're having a conversation, just how much of it is open and how much of it is closed. Because ultimately, why do we want to fix? There's always multiple reasons. One, it's our ego. But two, we have a really big heart and we want to give. We want to help people. But ultimately, it's always about your intention. If you're trying to help people, but actually you're jumping in, are you really helping them? Are you giving them a short-term fix? And it's interesting. It's like our programming says that we need to put everyone else first. And so what we tend to do, and until we become aware, is put everybody else first, and we kind of want to overgive. But actually, that doesn't allow us to be present. So less is more. Pick the people that you want to build that deeper connection with, and have a deeper conversations rather than having lots of higher level conversations with many people. And I know a lot of people can relate to this, but I can't necessarily have gossipy type conversations, normal chit chat anymore. It's kind of like, it's difficult. I don't, I just, and I guess the universe protects me from it because I'm not in those situations very often, but it's just, knowing that what we're doing is soul's work and you're walking with somebody, walking alongside them and you're not carrying them. That's the difference. And it's just it's so rewarding. And even if, like I said, even if you're not planning to be a mentor, like I say, he's still planning to be a friend, and just how much that healer in you, because people are going to be assigned to you. You're going to have soul contracts with people who are assigned to you, and just as Stacey was saying, it's like the mentorship program we do gets so many beautiful opportunities of aha moments where people are like, oh my God, they just realize how much they've shifted, and how much you're guiding people, and something sometimes we're also there's that psychic energy too, right? You'll see things in somebody before they will, because sometimes it's easier, right? It's like your guides will work through other people. It's not always just through you, right? So a lot of the times your ego, everything else is kind of blocking you, so somebody else will come along and will guide you to you. And that's what we do as mentors. We guide you to you, because you've got so many layers of programming. We systematically, and we channel it, we work through each of your bodies to truly help you to understand you. So, I mean, Stacey, I could talk about this topic for ages. I really just holding people's space and really kind of guiding them to is what we do, right? And I just but I'm wondering, as we're getting closer to closing out, what advice would you give? I mean, I would just before I hand it over to you, I would just remind people that, and Stacey said it earlier, is that holding space in this sort of way can take longer, but it's so much more rewarding. Remember this, you're a soul having a human experience, so what's the rush? So sacred, slow, and transformative. That for me is like the mantra. Is just, holding people's space. There's no rush. Where are we going? So I would, again, just be patient. But Stacey, any kind of final journal prompts, any reflections, any advice?
So, in your journaling, I would explore, are you an active listener? And when you have conversations with people, are you trying to solve things for them, or are you allowing them the space to come to their own answers? I feel like asking yourself some of these questions directly through journal prompting or sitting in a meditative state is really important for awareness, because without awareness, we can't make changes. And so if you are not somebody who is actively listening and allowing people that space, you're not going to know it unless you ask yourself these deeper questions and take a closer look at your relationships, because you don't have to be a mentor for these things to apply. Okay. This can apply in your family dynamics, in your friend dynamics, in your relationships with your coworkers, your employer. You can have a totally different approach to communication if you choose to. Okay. But it's about making the change to recognize that you need to do more listening than you do talking, and giving yourself the space to recognize if, in fact, you are already doing that. For me, it took some practice. I was so used to giving advice. I was so used to being in that space for almost 20 years. And then I took on the role of being a mentor, and things shifted. And I recognized that me giving my suggestions or my answers wasn't helping my clients in the way that I wanted to. And so this approach has been beautiful for my relationships in general, my relationships with my family. I feel like I listen more to what is happening around me and what the people around me need. I'm more aware of those needs because I'm taking the time to listen and integrate. And I'm in a space where I'm desiring to be that active listener and to really understand those around me. And so I think that's the other part of this is, are you listening to try to solve the problem, or are you listening to hold space? And I think that's another great journal prompt to ask yourself. Are you listening to give an answer, or are you listening to hold space and let the other person be guided to their answers? Very powerful questions to be asking yourself right now. And this is something anybody can learn how to do. Okay. I think that's the other thing we want to convey. Anybody can learn how to actively listen and be a guide and be a beacon. It's simply about the way you communicate.
I love it. I love it. And I'm very conscious this is a different sort of episode. We are actually asking you to, and all of our episodes ask you to look inside, but this in a way is how you guide and hold space, and it's very personal to you. I mean, we've shared a lot of what we shared makes sense, kind of whoever you are, but how you put it into practice is your choice, right? It's that, and even like I said, even if you're not going to be a mentor, but guiding people, holding their space, telling is so rewarding. And just all the general prompts that we've shared and everything, I guess for me, it's just sitting with yourself and just asking, where in my life am I trying to fix others? Instead of witnessing them, it's just, what if nobody needs to fix them? Anyone in your life, realize that you're a blessing to them. Holding their space, allowing them to truly become themselves. And hold your, can you hold your space for you in the same way? Without judgment, with love. It's such I feel like so many people have been activated, which is why we picked this topic. There's something shifting in you. True guidance, true mentorship, whether you want to call it, isn't about having all the answers. We don't have all the answers. Maybe we've got more experience on this space. I realize now it's like I spent over 25 years in corporate. I was managing people for so long, and I realized actually that was my training ground. Being able to hold space and allowing people to be. Somebody crying in front of me, I don't, it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable anyway. It depends on why they're crying, but I realize it's healing. So we don't have all the answers, but what we try and do and what we're guiding you to do is creating a safe space, a sacred space, where people feel seen, heard, and trusted with their own. We're not trying to fix anybody. But what we've seen and what we allow people to is truly transform. And you could do the same. It's the greatest gift to walk beside somebody, not ahead of them. This is the thing. Nobody's ahead of anybody. Everybody has just as important role to play in this transition, this ascension, whatever you want to call it, just as anybody else. Your soul chose to be here, and I feel like I'm going on a little tangent, but I'm so passionate about this stuff. And just to remind you, if we never push anything, right? If our voice resonates, then why don't you just reach out and book a free discovery call? You have nothing to lose. If you feel like we can guide you on your journey, you're not committing to anything. You're just committing to a conversation. I'll include the links to book a discovery call with both me and Stacey, with anyone else individually, if that's what you choose. Trust what's in your intuition. Trust what's in your heart. We love, and if that doesn't come through today, I really apologize, but I really hope it has, how much we love what we do. If you're listening to this, you're listening to it for a reason. And if you come to the end, thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. And like I said, book a free discovery call. We'd love to connect. We love to connect with people. It's why we're here. So I'm sending everyone so much love and light. Stacey, I'm going to hand over to you to close that, whatever's in your heart.
Such a good episode. And I think a reminder of how important it is to be an active listener and to allow people the space to process their own journey, and the power that you can be supportive and allow that space at the same time. I am so honored to be on this podcast. Love sharing our wisdom with all of you, and we love getting the feedback that we get on a regular basis. If this episode resonates, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for spending time with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for sharing the space with me, Stacey. And like I said, I was really tired before I joined this episode, and I am definitely more energized. So, I really feel this conversation and all the listeners and just feeling like what we're doing is making such a big difference to me too. So thank you for that. And, if you're going through a shift, we're here for you. And I hope you really feel our intention and our love. I'm sending everyone so much love and light. I feel the intense energy around us right now. And it's a beautiful time to connect with you guys. It's a beautiful time to create a community. It's a beautiful time to reach out to us and connect. Sending everyone so much love and light. And Stacey, in a different country, so I'm sending you the biggest hug too. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.